Hello my art-loving friends. In a video I did exactly a week ago, I painted these cute little kitties. One on this Gen Crafts paper and one on this B paper. Both of these are not cotton, so they're either cellulose, oh, this one says wood blend. I don't know. I'd have to go look up the difference between cellulose and wood pulp. That video and a comment from a viewer made me curious about trying these papers even more. I had a good time doing these two paintings, but she asked specifically about doing a landscape on them, which is similar to what I did in the background here, and even with a tree, but I don't know, it just made me curious. So I have now Gen Crafts B, Canson XL, which I already know that I don't very much like for many things, except inks and probably gouache. And then I found this paper too that I did a review on this a while ago, and I will link that in the corner for you. So I'm going to try the same painting on all four of these papers, and we are going to see what happens. Welcome if you're new, my name is Miranda, and on this channel we do all kinds of fun watercolor stuff. Once in a while we get distracted by another fun art supply, as you can see from the video that was released right before this one, and oh, was that fun. I'll link that for you too. Anyway, this is a painting I've done several times. This one is on cotton paper. Plus I did 9 of these for my Patreon supporters as postcards on 100% cotton paper. So I know what it's supposed to feel like. So that's the painting that I am going to do on all 4 of these papers. And while I would love nothing more than to get out my core or my Rosa Gallery paints, I am still trying to use all these up. It's taken over 2 years so far, so I'm going to use the Himimiya watercolor set for this, all 4 paintings, because I'm very familiar with these paints and we need to use them up. Let's paint already! I had so much fun with this. It's really fun just doing the same painting on different paper and going right from one to the other. However, just keep in mind that I'm human. So I did not do all of these paintings exactly similarly, even though in my brain I kind of thought I was. So there are a few differences at the end, but it's not too big of a deal. The summary I do at the end for you is worth every moment of waiting for it, so please wait for it. Anyway, I am using the Himimiya paint. My dark colors are getting very low, and in this set I believe the black must be a PBK11 because it's very granulating and it's very hard, so it's hard to re-wet. So I do need to put water in it ahead of time and really just kind of let it soak to get any dark. So I did have a hard time getting some really good darks going here because of those colors getting low, but that's okay. One thing super fun with this challenge is when I took out all 4 pieces of paper, I put the brand name on the back and then I taped them to these boards. And I had no idea which paper was which. And there was one on the one that I put on the acrylic sheet that I could have flipped over and looked because you can see through the acrylic sheet. But the rest I couldn't look, but I didn't. I resisted flipping it over to see what paper it was. So the whole time I'm painting these, I don't know which paper I'm painting on. And finally I decided to label them up in the corner because there are a couple of things when I was painting on them that I needed to take note of. So I needed to differentiate them from each other. So you'll see here pretty soon there's a 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the upper right corner. So something I'm wondering from you guys is, what do you notice as I'm painting on these different papers? Once you see the numbers, or if you can tell the different backings they're on, one's on this acrylic sheet that you're seeing right now, one's on actually the back of my light board because I ran out of sheets. One is on a clipboard and the other one is on a bigger clipboard. So do you guys notice any things like significant about the differences between these when I'm going from one to the other? I am trying to do wet on all of them. You saw that one where I started wet. I thought I was starting wet and I realized I was on dry paper, so I kind of wet it and kind of erased it all and started over again. But anyway, what do you see when I'm painting these? I'm really curious if there's one that you're like, oh, this one just worked way better than the rest. Now I had to wait, I think it was overnight before I did the mountains versus the background. And sometimes when I come back on paper like this, the tape has kind of peeled up a little bit and I have to re-stick it, but I didn't have to this time, which I thought was really interesting because the last time I did the cheap paper challenge, the last week's video, I notice the tape was coming up. So I don't know what the difference was, if maybe my house was more humid, if we were getting rain and it just kept the paper a little bit more damp. I don't really know, but the paper actually stayed stuck to the backer boards this time, which was good. So now that I've had a lot more experience painting with different kinds of paints and different kinds of papers, but basically the paints is what I want to talk about, this Himi Mia set, there are some very stiff colors, and I've mentioned this in previous videos. The darks are very hard colors, so you do need to let them sit. But only the dark brown, the light brown, the black, and the ultramarine blue. Those are the only ones that I really noticed being really stiff paints, so to speak. The rest are really enjoyable to work with. I really like the color payout on this set, and the light fast tests that I've done on this have not been too bad, which is pretty good. There are some colors that are definitely not light fast, which you want to keep an eye on, but you can go look at the videos after 1 year of testing these in the window and see what they look like. You can see some of the paper ripped there when I took that tape off, and they weren't wet. So they were completely dry, and I think they were completely dry anyway, and the tape ripped anyway. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were still slightly damp, but some ripped more easily than others, and I will tell you which ones in the end of this video. Anyway, as far as the paint goes, this is a great budget set, but I would recommend probably the Pretty Excellent set or the Paul Rubens if you're trying to get affordable good paint. And then I'm about to tell you all about the paper in person. I've taken them all off of their backing boards and kept the stickers. I have not turned them over to see which one was which yet, but here they all are. Okay, so I'm really curious to kind of guess. The tape only came off of like 1.5 really well. These number 1 and number 2, it really peeled the paper off, but I was quick. Like, I didn't care. I was like, tape off. I mean, I was careful but quick, if you know what I mean, because I'm kind of in a huge hurry right now. But aren't they pretty? So same thing. I'm gonna guess what paper is what here. Oh, I'm probably gonna get it wrong. So I think based on the texture, this would be so interesting if I get this totally wrong, that number 4 is that Jen Crafts paper, just based on the texture, because it is very textured. And that Jen Craft paper had that texture. But look at the vibrancy of the colors again. That Jen Craft paper is like number 1 in vibrancy. That one's a pretty close second in vibrancy, but I don't know if there is a but yeah, there is a but. The way that it buckled and made this have a big puddle on the side, and there was just nothing you could do to fix that. And this one did the same thing on that side. I tried to fix, I think, this one, and it kind of sort of worked, but it was really pulling the paint off from underneath. It's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna guess Jen Crafts. I'm gonna guess this is the B paper that I want to use for my project. I don't know. And I'm gonna guess, oh, this is hard. One of these two is gonna be Canson. Boy, I don't know. I'm gonna guess number 1 is Canson XL, and this number 3 is Hippie Crafter. Let's see if I'm right. All right. Number 1, you guys see it? Actually, it looks quite pretty. It's very smooth, so it's not bad. It's just not keeping the paint like on the surface quite so much as these, but it was pretty easy to use. Let's turn it over. Hippie Crafter. Okay, I was wrong. I think I was wrong. Hippie Crafter. So that's pretty decent paper. Look at it. There's no buckling like the buckling pool that I had in the others or anything. And I tried to paint these very similarly, but it's impossible to. I bet this crappy one, because look at all this. This better be Canson, because it buckled and pooled and back run, and this whole side was a mess, and it was very hard to paint on. See what it is. Canson XL. Okay. I almost guessed this one was Canson, but I thought that this one being smoother was Canson. Anyway, I should have just guessed my original intuition. Okay, is number 2 the B paper? Yes, it is. And number 4 has to be Jen Crafts. Interesting. So number 4 is hard to paint on when I did the wet on wet, so the granulating paints are hard to paint on it because of the surface, the texture. But then when I came back, when the first layer was done and did all the mountain and stuff, I actually felt that number 4 was really easy to paint on after that initial layer. So that's interesting. I actually think this could be pretty darn good paper if you can get away with that texture. So I guess just avoid granulating paints on it. I think you should. I don't like the way it looks. If maybe you're doing some kind of texture like denim or plaid or something, that would work really well. But I love how vibrant the colors are. That is pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool. And this one, at least this one's vibrant also. That makes me very happy. Let's see, what did I? Hard to layer. And the tape ripped on it. Okay, so this is hard to layer on. This is the B paper for my kitty coloring book. So that's interesting. And one of my commenters said that if you do wet on it, the paper pills. But I didn't notice the paper pilling unless that's what this is. But I didn't think so. It might be, but I thought it was just a chunk from my palette. I'm not sure. Yeah, I hate the way this is. Like, you just can't control, even tape down. Maybe if I stretch the paper, who's gonna stretch their Canson XL paper? I don't know, is that just me? Like, that just seems like such a waste of time. Good paper, yeah, go stretch it, but I can't deal with this buckly runny stuff. So that one's out. It was really hard to layer on, really hard. Oh, impossible. Okay, trash. Oh, this one looks so pretty. This was just pretty easy all the way around. So easy. In fact, I didn't have any comments on it on my notes. So that hippie crafter paper is pretty cool. It's just not as vibrant as the other two, but it's pretty. And, you know, the painting is different itself. Like, I have no pink down here like I have pink and orange down in these other ones, but not on this painting. So I just did the colors differently, and that's not helping where you're looking for vibrancy either. But I love how smooth this one looks. That's really nice. I may have to go online and see how much the hippie crafter paper is. It would be a better choice than the B probably for my coloring book. It's just smoother and prettier, and it just looks great in person. And then, yeah, this one's nice, but I can't deal with the texture. Well, okay, that's all my thoughts. Probably too many thoughts. I hope that that was somewhat useful for you, though, because it sure was fun. Like, painting on what I consider not great paper is just fun. Plus, I think some of these papers that I don't like so much may work better with gouache or acrylics or something like that. I keep looking at the number 1, and it's so smooth and pretty. And yeah, that's that hippie crafter paper. And one of you won a pad of that the last video I did on this, so I hope you enjoy it, because down here on the desk it looks awesome. Okay, enough talking about the paper already. I will let you go and see you in the next video. Bye for now. Wait, I wasn't filming? I wasn't filming? I don't think I was filming. Okay, enough talking about the paints. I will see you guys. The paints, the papers. I hope I said everything I was going to. That's all I have to say.